All right, let's go ahead and call the Senate to order. Sergeant Arms will please secure the chamber doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President,
All right, Senators, on this Tuesday, February 4th, we are very pleased to have Father Frank Crumbaugh III of Christ Church Parish in Kent Island in Stevensville, Maryland, guest of the distinguished senator from the 36th District. Please rise for the invocation.
I ask that your good hearts and faithful intentions join me in this moment. Holy One, as the first labor of this day, we pray that every subsequent labor of this day will honor your name. You've blessed us with common sense and a moral faculty that discerns right from wrong. Give us the wisdom to use those gifts. We ask for courage to imagine the common good, the will to pursue it, and the strength to achieve it. Remind us that life in Dundalk touches life in Denton. Life in Accident touches life in Crisfield. Life in Hagerstown touches life in Hurlock. Let us best serve those who sent us here by serving all who call Maryland their home. Fill our minds and memory with the abundance and natural beauty of Maryland. Inspire our hearts with the hard work and honorable industry of her people. And grant that our work may match theirs in perseverance and creative spirit, so that when the day is past and night comes upon us, we may rest, confident that we have done all we can do in faith, trusting you to do all that you alone can do to perfect and complete our work. In whatever way we know you, by whatever name we call you, we ask these things in humility, holding ourselves and the people of Maryland before you, for your blessing and your peace. Amen.
Recognizing the senator from the 36th District.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Reverend Crumbaugh, for your wonderful words of wisdom and faith. Mr. President, as you mentioned, he is from the rector at the Christ Church in Stevensville, which is also very important that is the oldest parish in the state of Maryland, founded by William Claiborne in 1631, so a little bit of history there as well. Although Father Crumbaugh is a native of Tennessee, just like every Eastern Shoreman, he is a lifelong hunter and fisherman, so he's done that. And also he's joined by his wife, Reverend Gretchen Simmerman, who is also a reverend for the Christ Church up in Wharton. So they are doing a tremendous job for us in their faith and in educating us and being with us on the Eastern Shore. So it is certainly a pleasure to have him there, both of them here, and ask that the prayer be journalized, please.
Absolutely. Without objection, we will journalize the Reverend's wonderful invocation and thank him and his wife for your work in the state of Maryland. Thank you very much. All right. Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 42 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is again in session. So we are very, very close. It looks like tomorrow we will be back at 47. We're going to tentatively hold 11 a.m. For a swearing in for the senator from, or soon-to-be senator from District 8. 11 a.m. tomorrow, because we'll have an 11:30 session ahead of the State of the State. So we will enter the State of the State at full strength. State of the Senate is full will be tomorrow's motto. Let's see. Do we have any resolutions? We do. Let's check the senator from Quince Orchards and Montgomery.
Yeah, something like that. Quince Orchards. Okay, we've got the 2024 4A state champion Quince Orchard football team, the Cougars, entering the house. We've got Coach John Kelly here, athletic director Jeff Raberman. This is the team's third state title in 4 years, the sixth state championship in school history. Here's a statistic, they outscored their opponents this season by a collective score of 518 to 88. And on December 6, 2024, at the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium against rival Henry Wise High School, they won 24-13, capping off an undefeated 13-0 season. So with that, we've got a resolution, and give them a big round of applause. The
Clerk
state
will read the
champions.
resolution in full.
Be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to Quince Orchard High School football team in recognition of winning the 2024 Class 4A State Football Championship. We applaud your outstanding season and wish you many more. Congratulations. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 4th day of February, 2025.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. To the gentlemen of Quince Orchard High School, the Senate of Maryland unanimously celebrates your 2024 Class 4A State Football Championship. Well done. Keep up the great work on the field and off the field. Great job. Excellent. All right, fellas, thank you all so much for joining us today. Keep up the great work. All right, let's see. We have a few introductions today. Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Up in the gallery, I'd like to introduce the Joint Veterans Committee. They're a community of veteran organization in the state, and they work to promote patriotism, engage in legislation and other activities, and advance the welfare of veterans, widows, their orphans, and dependents. Their organizations consist of the American Veterans, Marine Corps League, Military Order of the Purple Heart, Catholic War Veterans, Disabled American Veterans, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Would you join in welcoming them and thank them for their service?
Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for being here so much. Thank you. Excellent. We thank you for your service to the armed forces and also your service to our communities now. Thank you so much. All right, Senator from Baltimore County.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If the body can join me in giving a warm welcome to two folks who have been really tremendous helps to my office. My intern from the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, Corinne Wisman, and also Moriel Schechter, who is a senior at Carver, our School for the Arts in Baltimore County, and she's been working for our office and is shadowing today. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for your work in the General Assembly. Senator from the Capital City.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today we have joining us young people from the ACES group. This group is a dedicated group of young people who are committed to creating a happier and more sustainable world by embracing their responsibilities as the future generation. This group did some remarkable work in District 30. They rallied to have 250 coats donated to children who were in need. They also did some refurbishing at one of our local Boys and Girls Clubs that was able to bring fresh paint to the walls and other features that made it a more attractive place. Many of the members of this group are joining us all the way from Seoul, Korea. They are here, and today is actually their last stop. They're headed back home, so the Senate of Maryland will be the final thing that they get to see while spending time here in the States. Please help me welcome them to the Senate and thank them for their great work.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for joining us to get to see a little bit of American democracy in action. So I appreciate all your work. All right, any other introductions? Do we have any other introductions today? If not, so be considered the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. We have a report of the Committee on Finance. This is report number 2, second readers. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 47, Senator Guile, State Board of Physical Therapy Examiners, revisions, favorable.
Recognizing the bill sponsor is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 47 clarifies the definition of physical therapist assistant, adds a second licensed physical therapist assistant member to the board, requires the board to send renewal notices by email, but provide notice by first-class mail when requested by the licensee, and updates the contents of the renewal notice. There are no amendments. There is no fiscal impact. There was no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 47 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 157, Senator Simon Nair, Maryland Disability Service Animal Program, established favorable.
Recognizing the senator from Charles County is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 157 establishes the Maryland Disability Service Animal Program and Fund in the Department of Disabilities to refer eligible individuals to selected nonprofit training entities to be paired with an appropriate service animal. The department must select at least one qualified nonprofit entity to carry out the activities. Service animals are animals that are individually trained to do work or perform tasks for the benefit of an individual with a disability. Service animals are not meant to deter crime or provide only emotional support or companionship. The program is similar to the existing program for veterans. There are no amendments. There were no oppositions at the committee hearing. Therefore, I move for adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 157 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 209, Chair of Finance Committee, State Commission of Real Estate Appraisals, Appraisal Management Companies, and Home Inspectors, Sunset Extension and Report, favorable with one amendment.
Recognizing the vice chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The department bill extends the termination of the date for the State Commission on Real Estate Appraisals, Appraisals Management Companies, and the Home Inspectors within the Maryland Department of Labor by 3 years to July 1st, 2029. By July 1st, 2028, the Maryland Department of Labor must submit a report to the Joint Audit and Evaluation Committee. Amendment number 1 extends the commission 3 years rather than 5 years. There is no fiscal impact. There is no opposition at the committee. I move the amendment in a favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 209 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 212, Chair of Finance Committee, Department of Aging, Aging Services, Program Repeal and Consolidation, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from the Middle Eastern Shores of floor. Nope. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 212 is a departmental bill that repeals a requirement that the Secretary of Aging develop congregate housing services and assisted living programs for seniors, and instead requires the Department of Aging to develop, coordinate, and administer a consolidated program to provide specified services to older adults in need of services and supports. The bill repeals the Interagency Committee on Aging Services and instead transfers specified committee responsibilities to the department. The bill also replaces references to seniors with older adults. There are 2 amendments. The first amendment replaces references to area agency with area agency on aging. The second amendment requires the department to engage with stakeholders to conduct planning activities and co-design the new program. It also requires area agencies to conduct an assessment of individuals enrolled in a senior care, senior assisted living subsidy, or congregate housing program at the time of the transition of the program to determine an individual transition plan. There's no fiscal impact. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 212 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 213, Chair, Finance Committee, Health, Maternal and Child Health Population Health Improvement Fund, use favorable.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the Committee is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 213 is a department bill that extends from December 31st, 2005 to December 31st, 2027. The date through which the Maternal and Child Health Population Health Improvement Fund may be used for maternal and child population health improvements, and allows the Department of Health to spend through calendar year 2027 any monies remaining in the fund on December 1st, 2025. There are no amendments. There was no opposition in committee. I move for adoption of favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 213 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 217, Chair, Finance Committee, Health, Occupations Board, Membership Alteration and Sunset Extension, favorable with one amendment.
Recognize the senator from Howard and Anne Arundel as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 217 is a departmental bill that, as amended, extends the termination date for the State Board of Professional Counselors and Therapists, including the Behavioral Analyst Advisory Committee, by 2 years to July 1st, 2028. It also extends the termination date for the State Board of Pharmacy by 5 years to July 1st, 2030, and the termination date of the State Board of Examiners for audiologists, hearing and dispensers, speech and language pathologists, and music therapists, as well as the State Board of Massage Therapy Examiners by 5 years to July 1st, 2031. The bill also increases the membership of the State Board of Massage Therapy Examiners from 7 to 9, adding one additional consumer member, as well as one additional licensed massage therapist. There is one amendment. Amendment 1 reduces from 5 years to 2 years the extension of the State Board of Professional Counselors and Therapists, including the Behavioral Analyst Advisory Committee, as described. Move for the adoption of the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. And on the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 217 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 228, Chair, Finance Committee, Limited Line of Credit Insurance Qualifications of Applicants, favorable.
Recognize the chair of the committee is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 228 is another departmental bill. It repeals the requirement that the insurance commissioner approve certain instructional programs that must be completed in order to obtain an insurance producer license for the limited lines of credit insurance, credit life insurance, or credit health insurance. Instead, the bill requires the instructional programs to be designed to provide a comprehensive and accurate explanation of the insurance product, and further requires insurers that administer the instructional program to maintain and make available records of the program. There are no amendments, no physical impact, no opposition. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, the floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 228 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right, we're going to go to Education, Energy, and the Environment for report number 3. For those in the audience, these are all, we're still early in session, so these are, the standard work of state government. We're moving along departmentals, fixing things here and there, not controversial days. We'll see if we have any on this calendar. I don't think we do, but you never know. You never know. Send them to Maryland. So, clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 138, Senator Kagan, Public Safety, Maryland 911 Board and Maryland Department of Emergency Management, Regulatory Authority, favorable.
Recognizing the bill sponsor is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a bill that just kind of closes corrects an oversight that we did when we made MDEM, the Maryland Department of Emergency Management, into a cabinet-level department rather than Maryland Emergency Management Agency. We just neglected to give them the regulatory authority they need to function. There was no opposition. There's no fiscal note. It passed unanimously. Move adoption of the favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 138 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 248, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Department of Service and Civic Innovation, Maryland Corps Program Service Year Option, Pathways, Revisions, favorable.
Recognizing the senator from Baltimore City and County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 248 is a departmental bill, and it makes some revisions, some necessary revisions and updates to our Maryland Corps Program Service Year Options Pathways. So it makes several changes to the core program. One, it modifies participant reimbursement provisions. Under the current law, students were provided a salary, but in addition, for completing the period, they would receive a award that they could use towards college. And the concept was to deposit it into a Maryland 529 program. The department has been advised that it's not able to make those deposits. They're not able to make third-party deposits, and so therefore the funds will be rewarded directly to the service person. Number two, it expands eligibility. It repeals the requirement that we can only consider applicants who are within 3 years of graduating high school, and instead has set an age range of 18 to 25. Additionally, it increases some flexibility in the department's spending programs, moving between programs within its jurisdiction that supports the service program. And it also requires that that there be a report submitted to the General Assembly. Under the current law, the report only goes to the governor. There were no committee amendments. The committee vote was unanimous and favorable, so I ask for the adoption of the committee report. Yeah, I move for the adoption of the committee's favorable report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 248 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 255, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Military Department, Chief of Staff and Aides, Appointment Authority, favorable.
Recognizing the senator from the 23rd District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this departmental bill replaces the governor with the Adjutant General as the individual responsible for appointing the Chief of Staff and their aides within the military department. The bill further establishes that these individuals serve at the pleasure of the Adjutant General. There are no committee amendments. There is no fiscal impact. I move favorable the committee report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 255 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 266, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Local Comprehensive Planning and State Economic Growth, Resource Protection and Planning Policy, Planning Principles, favorable with one amendment.
Senator from the 9th District is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 266 is a departmental bill from the Maryland Department of Planning. This bill replaces the 12 visions that a local planning commission must implement through a local jurisdiction's comprehensive plan with specified planning principles. Correspondingly, the bill makes corresponding changes to the state economic growth, resource protection, and planning policy. There is one committee amendment which adds a 9th planning principle titled public participation to the 8 originally proposed in the bill. This principle was nearly identical to the public participation vision included in the current law. Mr. President, I'd like to special order this bill until next Tuesday, giving pending discussions between the Secretary of Planning and some agricultural stakeholders.
All right, the floor leader has moved to special order the bill and the amendment until the appropriate time a week from today. Are there any objections? Any objections to the special order? Without objection, the bill will be special ordered to the appropriate time. Clerk will read the next bill. Oh, that's the end of that calendar. Let's move on over to judicial proceedings. This is calendar number 4. Clerk will read the first bill. Give us just a moment. We have a little technology snafu. as we're waiting and, buying time, I was counting the number of animal prints on Tuesday, and I was provided this tie by the now county executive. We have leopards hiding in the forest, so to honor Animal Print Tuesday, she wanted me to make sure to count how many folks. So I'm reporting back. I think I see about 6 who have showed up today for Animal Print Tuesday. All right, good thing we found the bill. All right, clerk will read the bill.
That's great. All right. Senate Bill 11, Senator Watson, Organized Retail Theft Act of 2025, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 25th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 11 establishes the offense of organized retail theft of property with an aggregate value exceeding $1,500. A violation of this prohibition is a felony, punishable by specified graduated penalties based on the value of the property involved. A person who violates this prohibition must restore the property to the owner or pay to the owner the full value of the property. A conviction for the organized retail theft merges into a conviction under the general theft statute for the purposes of sentencing where the 2 convictions arise from the same acts or transactions. This bill also, 1, clarifies the venue for prosecution of a case involving multiple thefts in multiple counties committed by the same person under one scheme or continuing course of conduct, and 2, requires that by the same person under one scheme or continuing course of conduct, requires the court or the state's attorney's request to make a finding of fact after specified disposition for certain offenses as to whether a crime constitutes organized retail theft. Mr. President, there were no committee amendments, and this bill is in the same posture as it passed last year, and I ask that we move for an adoption of a favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 11 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 40, Senator Muse, Vehicle Laws, Towed, Removed, or Abandoned Vehicles, Electronic Notice to Owner, favorable.
Recognizing the bill sponsor is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, and brother and my friends in the Senate. This bill raises the age of judges to 75 years old, so that. Wait, no, it's not. I'm sorry.
I think that bill's still in committee, Senator.
My
Committee,
apology. My apology.
Still being deliberated.
Yes, sir. This bill authorizes a person who tows or removes a vehicle from a parking lot in a police department that take an abandoned vehicle into custody to send specific notices to a vehicle owner through the motor vehicles. There are no committee amendments, and move for a favorable report. 75.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 40 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 121, Senator A. Washington, Vehicle Laws, Noise Abatement Monitoring Systems, Pilot Program, Inspection and Extension, favorable.
Recognizing senator from the 25th is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 121 extends by 2 years the termination date and reporting requirements of Chapter 624 and 625 of 2024, which established authorization for Montgomery and Prince George's counties to use noise abatement monitoring systems on state and local highways to record violations of state law governing maximum sound limits of motor vehicles. There were no committee amendments, and I move that we adopt a favorable report. Thank you, sir.
All right, floor leader is moving for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 121 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 125, Senator Guile, Residential Real Property, Local Limits on Summoning Law Enforcement or Emergency Services, favorable.
Recognize the senator from Montgomery County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 125 closes an accidental loophole in legislation we passed recently. 2 years ago, we passed legislation to prevent localities from enacting legislation that would set a threshold number of times someone could call emergency services before that property or owner is determined a nuisance and action could be taken at action could be taken on the tenant. Wow, excuse me. Senate Bill 125 would add enforcement to that law and say that localities cannot enforce these nuisance laws against tenants and owners. Thank you. There were no amendments. I move the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 125 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Senator, I think we have to check the line on your microphone. I think it was going in and out, so we'll have a quick check on that after we leave the floor today. But excellent floor report. So, all right, clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 160, Senator Waldstreicher, residential property, assignment of contracts of sale, disclosure requirements, and recession, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sometimes if you own a residence and are buying or selling real estate, you're actually not dealing with the person who is buying or selling that property to you or from you. You're dealing with a middleman known as a wholesaler who makes the contract but then sells the right to that contract to a third party. This bill is just a disclosure bill. That means a wholesaler would have to disclose to the buyer or seller that they in fact have no intention of executing the contract, that they will sell the contract to a third party to execute. There are there are 2 amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 alters terminology to conform to existing practice. Mr. President, I move the adoption of the favorable committee report and the 2 amendments.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and favorable report. Senator, is this just for just residential? Not okay. 2 committee amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 160 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right, we have a message to the Senate from the House. Clerk will read the message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the Governor of Maryland has signified his intent of addressing the General Assembly of Maryland on Wednesday, February 5th at 12 noon in the House chamber. We propose, with your concurrence, a joint meeting of the 2 houses for this occasion and have appointed delegates Rose and Martinez to escort your honorable body to the House chamber. We further propose a joint committee to escort the Governor to the House chamber. We have appointed delegates Stonko and Fennell, and we further propose the appointments of a joint committee to escort the Lieutenant Governor to the House chamber. We have appointed delegates Tomlinson and Polakovich-Carr. By order, Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
Message having been read is ordered journalized. We appreciate the House's kind invitation. We would like to RSVP. Clerk will read the message.
By the Majority Leader, ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, we have received your message that the Governor has signified his intent to address the General Assembly of Maryland on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 at 12 noon, and your proposal of a joint meeting of the General Assembly in the chamber of the House of Delegates. We respectfully concur in your message and have appointed on behalf of the Senate, Senators King and Hershey as members of the Joint Committee to escort the Governor to the chamber of the House of Delegates. We've also appointed members of a joint committee, Senators Benson and Reedy, to escort the Lieutenant Governor to the House chamber. By order, Nicole M. Alexander, Secretary of the Senate.
Message having been read is adopted. All right, State of the State tomorrow. We've got one more. This is the special order, calendar number 3. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 183, Chair, Budget and Taxation Committee, State Department of Assessments and Taxation Notification of Constant Yield Tax Rate Repeal. Bill is on third reading for final passage.
All right, let's recognize the chair of the committee on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to reconsider the vote that this bill passed on second reader for purpose of amendment.
All right, the chair moves that we reconsider the vote by which the bill passed second reader. Any objection to the senator's motion? Without objection, the motion passes. The bill is back before us on second reader and subject to amendment. Chair has an amendment that the pages will distribute. Our first distributed amendment of the year. Pages, this is, maybe we'll have more, but the key is to be quick. If they're not looking, just toss it. Just throw it, they'll find it. They'll find it. If they really want it, they'll find a way.
Paper cut in the eye hurts, though.
All right. Has everyone received the amendment? Senator may proceed in explaining the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. You may recall this bill has to do with the requirement for calculating constant yield by the Department of Assessments and Taxation. The senator from the Mid-Shore pointed out that in his particular circumstance, his jurisdiction was interested in having sort of dates certain by which you could make that request. It was always the case that it could be requested, but now it's clearer about exactly when that is. It must be requested by February 1st, and it will be provided by February 14th. And that is the amendment. Move the amendment.
All right, Senator moves the amendment. On the amendment, recognizing the minority whip.
Mr. President, I think I may have a question after the amendment's adopted.
After it's adopted.
Yeah,
All right.
apologies, yes,
All
thank
right,
you.
on the amendment, let's recognize the senator from the 37th District on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to just thank the committee for taking our questions seriously and addressing them quickly. I'd like to apologize to the committee that we had this information. I should have had a way to get it to the committee, but it was the beginning of session and there was a lot going on. So thank you for your consideration. I'm looking forward to voting for the amendment. And it addresses all the questions and concerns that we've received about this bill.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the amendment, any further discussion? Any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Recognizing the minority whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wondered if I could ask the chair one question about the bill.
Certainly, it's still on second reader. Do we hold? Well, let's see. Will the senator yield for a question?
Sure.
Senator may proceed.
I'll just ask now. I mean, I could ask on third, I guess. But just, if we pass this bill as is, and I'm fine with the amendment, that's a good amendment. If we pass this bill as is, would somebody be able to find out what the constant yield is if they weren't a representative of the county?
I don't want to be inaccurate, so I'm not going to give you an
sure.
absolute answer. But I think it would be, the calculation may not have occurred for that particular jurisdiction if an individual was asking that. And so I'm going to believe that an individual may not be able to request that. It would have to be the jurisdiction that requests it.
Okay. And is there a way? So they won't be calculating it unless a county asks for it?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 183 is hereby ordered printed for third reading yet again. We'll see if it gets over. Might have a new amendment, come back, fourth, still early, plenty of time. All right, that does it. Our desk is clear. Let's check in with committees. Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee will meet at 1 o'clock today. We have 8 bills, 53 witnesses, and it should be an interesting day. Thank you.
All right, an interesting day in finance. Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair of Education, Energy, and the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. President. EEE Committee will meet at 1 p.m. today for 12 bill hearings, largely environmental bills. And I'd also note Subcommittee Chair on Education, Senator from the 43rd District, has a separate announcement for a subcommittee meeting shortly after we break here. Okay?
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's go to the subcommittee. We'll stay in the committees.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, the Education Subcommittee is joining in a joint briefing with HTO's Public Health and Minority Health Disparities Subcommittee, the Appropriations, Health and Social Services, the Education, Energy, and Development Subcommittees. That briefing is going to be on individuals and chronic conditions in higher education. This is a virtual hearing, so you should have links in your box. All EEE members are invited, and members of the Education Subcommittee are strongly encouraged to attend. Thank you.
What time, Senator?
It starts at 11.
11 o'clock. Excellent. Thank you. Chair, Budget and Tax.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will have bill hearings followed by voting at 1 o'clock today, and it just won't be interesting. It'll be fascinating.
Fascinating in B&T. All right. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Judicial Proceedings Committee will meet today at 1 p.m. for bill hearings, mainly transportation and juvenile justice bills.
Excellent. Thank you, Senator. Let's see. Any other standing committees? Select committees? Delegation? Yes. Chair of the Baltimore City Delegation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There'll be a voting session of the Baltimore City Senate delegation immediately following this session in the Silver Room.
Excellent. All right. Further yes, Howard County delegation?
The Howard County delegation will be meeting immediately after the floor session on Thursday in the Silver Room.
Excellent. Baltimore County delegation?
Thank you. I stand as co-chair of the Jewish Caucus,
yes.
which will be meeting on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. in the Amos. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any further announcements? Yes, Senator from the Lower Eastern Shore.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. Today is Chicken Day in Annapolis. So we would like to share with you that the Delmarva chicken community has raised 613.2 million chickens, produced 4.6 billion pounds of chicken, and generated $4.8 billion in sales in 2024. So today we are celebrating Maryland's chicken farmers and the poultry company employees and all the related businesses and friends of the poultry industry and the poultry farmers. So we invite you to the Governor Calvert House from 11 to 1 today, and we hope to see you and that you can partake and enjoy and also thank our poultry farmers and industry. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Senator. I was just looking to see if I'm going to be able to swing by. Chicken Day. All right. Any other? Yeah, sir, Veterans Caucus? Nope.
No.
Southern Maryland?
Keep going.
No,
Prince
pensions.
George's.
Prince George's, not pensions,
I'll say
sorry.
Prince George's delegation meeting tomorrow, 6 p.m. in the Neal Conference Room. Thank you.
Yes, Senator from Charles.
Black Caucus.
Black Caucus, yes, please.
Yeah, the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland will have breakfast with the governor this Thursday, 8 a.m., our annual breakfast with the governor. So please, members, put that on your schedule.
Wonderful. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from the Lower Eastern Shore, or Middle Eastern Shore, 37.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a protocol announcement. Is now the
Yes, Senator,
appropriate time?
Please.
So, while we're doing all the celebrating, we have a colleague birthday to celebrate today, and I'd like to request permission to use the senator's name.
Senator may proceed.
Okay, so colleagues, as we're celebrating all these wonderful things going on in Maryland, our chairman for the Education, Energy, and Environment Committee, Senator Feldman, is celebrating his birthday. So join me in wishing our Chairman Feldman a very happy birthday.
Happy birthday. There is no place he would rather be. No place he'd rather be. Excellent. All right, Senator from District 11, Baltimore County. I think we're good. Maybe, do we cover? We have yours? Okay, I think we're covered. Okay. Any other announcements? If not, let's do a quorum call before we adjourn.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 43 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session, recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Tuesday, Wednesday, February 5th at 11:30 a.m.
11:30. Without objection, so ordered. Have a wonderful day, everyone.